My name is Zewande Bk Bhengu, and I was born and raised in one of the rural areas in Eastern Cape, KwaManqafoza, Mzize. I grew up in a home being raised by a single mother who was a teacher. And there were lots of us at home. There were at any one point between maybe 9 to 12 of us, and she was supporting, all of those kids. There were cousins of mine from everywhere, really. And a lot of them were girls and, women. And so I grew up in that kind of setting. And we grew up in a really rural area. I think when I was growing up, we did not even have electricity until later on in my life. And everyone had cattle and had sheep and goats, and everyone was just farming. One of the popular things was dogs. Everyone seemed to have a dog, right? And growing up, I was a naughty kid. I was growing up among girls, and as the only boy, really, for the most part, I was a naughty kid, and I used to get beaten by my mother quite a lot. She would put me in line, and at one point, she beat me for eating ipoloni, for stealing ipoloni. At least that's what she thought. So she had bought a large size poloni, but massive, and it just disappeared. And no one knew where it was, and the immediate suspect was, Zewande. So, got it, right? And I knew in my heart of hearts, I did not steal it, so I felt doubly terrible that I got beaten and I really did not do anything. But as time went on, things started disappearing from the kitchen. So meat would disappear from the fridge, mili would disappear from the kapati, and this all seemed to point to the fact that there was someone who was actively stealing from home. So we noticed that there was a weakness in one of the windows in the kitchen. And if you push the window, the lock, the thing that locks like this, it would loosen, and then when you pull it back, the window would just open, and we did not have amabhekla guards. So we moved the fridge to another a six corner house, right? Because in the rural area, what we have are different kind of houses. So there's a flat, which is a 2-room house, where we sleep in. We have a rondavel, a thatch roof rondavel, that we use as a kitchen. And so we moved it to the 6th corner, to another house that could lock properly, right? And for a while, things seemed to be fine. There was no more theft. Meat would stay in for longer. And one day, at about 2-3 in the morning, we hear this shouting outside. Someone is shouting and screaming and calling, my family members by name, including myself, including my mother, was calling us by name and telling us to get out of the house and supposedly go face him outside. So everyone woke up, everyone is shocked. What is going on? Because we were all sleeping in the same, in that 2-room flat, right? So my mother was this side sleeping with a bunch of other kids, and I was, with other kids on the other flat, on the other side of the flat, right? And everyone is shocked and scared, and we were all wondering what is happening. So for the sake of the story, I'm going to call this culprit Temba, right? I'm going to call him Temba. So Temba is outside and he's shouting and he's screaming, and it sounds like he's just losing his mind, right? And while all of that is happening now, everyone is awake. He pulls out a machete, a bush knife. This thing is long, right? And that thing is dangerous. People usually use it to, for farming and whatnot. And what he starts doing is starts breaking all the windows in the house. in the house that we were sleeping in. He starts smashing all the windows. He starts smashing. Now, from where I am, I can hear, because I'm living with all girls. So from where I am, I can hear everyone is screaming and crying. And I can hear my mother just shouting. People are screaming for the neighbors. Everyone is kind of ducking under the bed and, under the couches, under anything that you can get under. Right? We're crying. We're trying to get out of this situation. The windows are being smashed. This guy is still shouting. He's still shouting outside. He's screaming, "Get out! Zewande! Puma!" Right? And everyone is now scared. We're trying to find ways to get out of the situation. So because the houses are so far apart from each other, and he's now gone to the other houses in the yard to go smash those windows, right? So in that moment when he's gone to go smash the other windows, my mother finds this opportunity and she sneaks us out of the window of the house that we are in, right? So now the kids, myself and my other younger cousins, we get out of the flat and we are running to the neighbor's yard, right? And where I was going, the yard that I was headed to, at one point I was bitten by the dog there, so I was scared to go to that yard. So I ended up climbing a tree that is in the air. So I jumped our fence and jumped into the neighbor's fence and I climbed the tree and I just sat there and I was breathing heavily, and every other cousin of mine who was next to me had disappeared and I saw no one. But I could see from in my yard, from the tree, I could see my yard and I could see this guy still screaming. My mother remained behind with my older cousins. This guy still screaming and shouting and smashing everything. Now I can hear him just bashing the doors. Now I can hear it's as if he's just axing like a tree, right? You can hear the door just smashing and more windows, and he's hitting the walls and everything. I can hear my mother screaming, and the dogs of our neighbors now started barking, and every dog in every direction started barking. Now the tree where I was, just dogs just from my neighbor's house just came running like this and they started barking. And I'm scared now. I jump up the tree. I go further up and I'm climbing and I can still see what is happening in my yard. And I can see this guy just losing his mind. And from the gate over there, I can see the neighbors just coming in, trying to assist us. And the next thing I hear is it's gunshot. Right? Everyone is now holding back. All you see are just sparks and you hear this gun sound. And then I could see Utemba just running off and he jumped onto the corner, because at the corner we had bricks instead of fencing. And he jumped on top of the brick lane, right? And he ran off. Now everyone is just chasing after this guy. So you could kind of trail him by the sound of dogs of our neighbors. You could hear, because the dogs, he would get onto this yard and the dogs would bark, woof, 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 get onto the next yard, woof, 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 onto the next yard. You could kind of trail, woof, 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 all the way, right? Everyone is now chasing him. More neighbors come into our yard. My mother comes out of the flat. And, they're trying to console us now, trying to calm us down, because everyone is in a panic. My other younger cousins start coming back into the yard. I climb down from the tree because now the dogs, are gone. And I'm still scared. Everyone is still in shock. And for the rest of that night, no one slept. Right? Because we were all wondering what the hell just happened. We tried to call the police and they said, we will not come there until the morning. That's literally what they said. We will not come there until the morning. So morning comes, early morning. Now we hear the sounds of people outside. It's a commotion. People are screaming. People are talking. We can hear that more dogs are there and more dogs just barking everywhere. And we can hear it's just, it's a huge commotion. And we go outside and we see. And they caught him. They caught Utemba. They've been chasing him the whole night. And in that morning, they caught him. And they were beating him up so bad, all of his back was just peeling off like this. His whole back was just white and red. It's almost as if he had no skin anywhere on his back. And I think the intention was to beat him to death. But the police that we had called the previous night when this was happening arrived, and they saved him. They saved him by taking him into custody. That, I think, in my childhood years, is perhaps the most frightening night, because I could not imagine anything like that happening. But I also learned just how far my mother's love goes, that she would sneak us out, have the opportunity herself to sneak out, but stay behind so that we can get away.